Good day to you. You know what's sick? My haircut right now. Look at it. Perfectly blended. Beard's coming in. You thought. My hair's fucking whack up top. Honestly, it's been a rough day. It has been an absolutely rough day. Been back to college. Been waking up at like 6 a.m. But I gotta get that One Piece YouTube video out. So, here we go, boys and girls. Alright, so in today's video, I wanted to talk about the Zoro and Sanji conflict, about Sanji leaving for Whole Cake Island. I know a lot of people have done videos about Zoro leaving the crew, but what I wanted to more focus on would be the actual conflict itself of Sanji leaving the crew and the repercussions of it. So I know that a lot of people are subscribed to the theory of Zoro's probably going to leave the crew, and I will address that part of the whole theory in this video, but I wanted to focus up until everything until that point if it does happen. So I want to focus about like Sanji's mental state of mind when he left for Whole Cake Island and Zoro's mental state of mind when Sanji left as he went off to Wano and then Luffy and company went off into Whole Cake Island. And then I want to also describe and kind of like talk about what's going to go down in Wano and the ways that I see it. So let's begin. So when Sanji split from the crew on Zo to go to Whole Cake Island, there's two main differences at the start of the internal conflict between Zoro and Sanji. And these two differences are Zoro understands the weight of going against a Yonko and making a Yonko an enemy. So Zoro is thinking about the crew itself, right? Where Sanji didn't understand fully what it meant to make a Yonko your enemy. And Sanji was thinking about himself, right? And Zeph over the crew. Okay. Going on what Zoro has said, I'm going to bring it back to the Enies Lobby Water 7 arc with his flashback speech about what he said to about Usopp. And he states, "I'm not going to let you go get him. Whatever you do, Luffy, you better not kiss his butt and tell him how happy you are to see him again. I won't let him come back unless he apologizes for what he did. Zoro, why are you? Shut up." Whatever Luffy and Usopp were thinking of when they started arguing who was right and who was wrong, that doesn't matter. When two men decide to have a duel, the only thing that matters is who wins. Usopp lost, and he left the ship on his own. Listen, all of this guy may be an idiot, but he's still the captain, referring to Luffy. We're better off without a crewmate who can't respect the captain when the going gets tough. A crew that doesn't respect their captain and a captain who doesn't deserve that respect is destined to fail. Going on further, I don't care how much you screw around under normal circumstances, but you're still the captain and you rank above me. If you don't act like the captain at a time like this, I'll be the next to leave this group. This is what Zoro's saying. And then Nami says, "What? You're just making things more complicated. It's fine that he wants to come back." Or Zoro says it's fine that he wants to come back. But if he doesn't confess to what he did and tries to sneak back on board as if nothing ever happened, I won't forgive him. If that's the case, we're going to leave Usopp on this island. What Zoro is saying about Usopp to Luffy makes complete sense. A crew that doesn't have faith in their captain to help them realize their own dreams is destined to fail when there's pirate crews like Big Mom, who's been around for 68 years, but her crew has been around for 50 plus years, however old Perospero and Compote are. You had a Whitebeard's crew. Whitebeard was referred to as the strongest man and had one of the strongest crews. That's why he was a Yonko. These people all believed in their captains. I don't know about King, Queen, Jack, and all of the headliners and the people in Kaido's army, but they fear him, and they follow him too, making him one of the strongest. I have no doubt that everyone in Shanks' crew has the utmost respect for Shanks and admires him, and that's why they fly underneath their flag. So if anyone disrespects the captain, as Zoro is saying, shouldn't be a part of the crew. And Sanji leaving the crew for Zeph and his sake is a disrespect to the mindset of Luffy of becoming the Pirate King.
I gotta stop this for a second. Okay, so I want to dissect Sanji's mindset when he left Zoe to go to Whole Cake Island. So Big Mom and Germa said, or they gave Peckham's a note and Beige a note, and said, if you don't come to the tea party and you don't come to the wedding, we will send Zeph's head in a box. Now that's tough. That's something tough, right? The man who raised you, who was a father figure when your father wasn't a father, and taught you everything you know about your morality, your mind state, your fighting techniques, raised you, basically, and nurtured you, even though he was like a dick at times. He was the father figure that Sanji needed. If they said, we're going to bring his head in a box to you if you don't show up, I don't blame Sanji for going to Whole Cake Island. Like, I really don't. I blame what he did and the way he went around it, in difference to how Zoro was thinking about Kaido and the upcoming arc. Even though characters don't think in arc spans, they were thinking about what was coming in the future. So let's say that it took Sanji a week to get to Whole Cake Island, right, for the tea party, and it took Zoro a week from like post they left Zoe to go to Wano with that whole part of the crew. That's a week and a week, right? Where then it takes Luffy another week to get to Whole Cake Island and Big Mom's territory. So they have, like, let's say 2 weeks right there. Zoro's been in Wano for a week, and then Sanji's been in Whole Cake Island for 2 weeks, and then Luffy shows up to Whole Cake Island a week later. So that's 3 weeks. Everything that happened in Whole Cake Island is maybe 2 days, 3 days tops, right? And then it takes him another week to travel to Wano. So Zoro's been in Wano for a month with Kinemon and Kanjuro and all them. And then they show up to Wano a month later. The threat of Kaido is a month away from when they left Zoe. That is not enough time to get in and get out of Big Mom's territory without suffering the consequences. And this is the difference between Zoro and Sanji and their thought processes when it comes to the crew. So back to the whole entire Zeph thing. Sanji had every right to go to Whole Cake Island, but like I said, he did it in probably the worst way. He didn't think about... Alright, I'm going to backtrack for a second. Weighing on Sanji's shoulders, right, are a couple of ideas and possibilities. Sanji in his mind probably thinks that Luffy and the crew can handle a Yonko, right, by themselves. He didn't think that Luffy was coming after him for some odd reason, when he knows that Luffy has done this before and will go after a crewmate to make sure that they're safe and they're still a part of the crew. So Sanji probably thinks, Zeph, man who raised me, right, not as strong as the crew. The crew, my new family, strong enough to handle themselves. Thinking that the crew would be strong enough to handle themselves with whatever came up, Sanji decides to go to Whole Cake Island in order to protect Zeph and make sure that he's okay. So in this instance, Sanji is being selfish for the man who raised him. And like I said, like, I don't really blame him. I blame the way that he did this. Thinking that he can just go into Big Mom's territory, marry one of her daughters, and then go back to the Straw Hat crew without realizing that if he's married into it, Big Mom is now the sole proprietor, if you want to use like business terms, of Sanji and the Germa Kingdom. Like, because Big Mom's power as a Yonko outweighs Germa's power as a kingdom. So the Germa flag would fly underneath the Big Mom Pirates flag. And Sanji didn't think about this. All he was thinking about was saving Zeph. And that isn't an important thing, but he doesn't understand the repercussions or the ties that if the Germa Kingdom definitely goes underneath Big Mom and she gets their sciences, that the Straw Hat flag would then fly under the Big Mom flag. He did not understand that, and that's what puts Luffy in like this tough spot. Now moving on to Zoro and his mental state, or like his side of the argument in Zoe. To backtrack, Zoro is his family beforehand was Kuina, and Kuina's dead, R.I.P. Couple of stairs, you know, tough business. So Zoro has his loyalty and his love for Luffy and the crew. That's his family. That's what's going to take him beyond whatever he imagined he can do. Luffy is his captain, and Zoro is only thinking about how to better progress his captain, and how to help his crew out. So this is the difference between Zoro and Sanji for their kind of, how do you explain it? Like their respect to Luffy and the crew. So these are some of the mental states and standpoints that both Sanji and Zoro have before their meeting in Wano. I think this is a analysis of what they could have been thinking and why they acted those ways and said what they said. So when they go into Wano, they're already in Wano, but when they meet up in Wano, I think one of two things is going to happen. The first being that Sanji doesn't say anything and tries to play it off like Usopp and sweeps everything underneath the rug, and Zoro keeps tabs of it. Like you'll see like a little ... Right? Or I think Sanji and Zoro are going to have a conversation about this, not known to Luffy. This is going to be, like I said, the basis of this video, like their conflict between two men, Zoro and Sanji. And I think it's going to go something along the lines of this. I think Zoro's going to ask him, how can you leave the crew, let alone leave the crew for a girl? And Sanji replies, I had to leave the crew for a little while to protect the man I owe my life to. You guys could handle anything, but I know that Zeph couldn't. And Zoro's going to say, I don't care that Zeph can't handle himself. He's in the past. This is your future. This is your new family. This is everything that you wanted. Luffy is the man who will allow you to fully realize your dream of reaching the All Blue. And I think this is the most important part of Zoro and Sanji's conflict, is Zoro stating Sanji's dream. Zoro isn't the smartest dude when it comes to directions, but Zoro is very headfast in knowing what Luffy wants to do and what the crew wants to do. And I think this is going to come to a shock for Sanji that Mosshead, because they have that rivalry, knows about his dream. So after, if they do have this conversation, this small conversation, I think Sanji's going to be baffled. He's going to be like, yo, Zoro knows about my dreams. Like, he remembered that. And it's because of Zoro's character. Zoro is a very loyal character. And a part of being loyal is understanding and remembering things of the people, or remembering ideas and dreams of the people that you're closest to. So this is going to take Sanji back. And I think we're going to get a couple of, what do you call those? Like, not flashbacks, but like inner monologues, right? I think we're going to get a Sanji inner monologue in Wano about what he did in Whole Cake Island. And I think he's going to run through it, and he's going to kind of like weigh out the options if they have this conversation. And I think within these options, Sanji's going to explore the route of, if I didn't go to Whole Cake Island, what would have happened? Right? Like, everything would have been the same, or like would have been completely different. And I also think Sanji is going to think about a way to retaliate to Zoro about justifying why he did go to Whole Cake Island, but he's then going to do the whole entire apology, declaration of dreams, solidified commitment for the crew. With Usopp coming back to the crew, he had to apologize to Luffy for what he did. He had to ask for forgiveness. But I think there's going to be a key difference between Sanji coming back and apologizing. So if you remember all the way back to Mihawk's introduction, and when he just wipes the floor with Zoro, Zoro takes it like a man. And you know what he does after that? He gives a speech to Luffy stating that he declares his dreams as Luffy's dreams. Now, this is basically like what he says. He says, I will become the world's strongest swordsman so that you can become the Pirate King. This is the amount of respect and loyalty that Zoro has for Luffy. He proclaimed, he declared, he set up his whole entire goal as a character to be an influence and a help to Luffy along his journey. And I think what's going to happen is Zoro's going to demand the same thing from Sanji. I hope that it plays out to where Sanji does this on his own and Zoro keeps tabs. But I think Sanji is going to have to declare himself as Luffy's left-hand man. Something along those lines. Like, Sanji's going to have to declare his dreams of going to the All Blue in accordance, in in ordinance in coordinates in parallel. I'll use that one. In parallel to Luffy's dream, Sanji is going to have to explain to the crew and give almost the same speech that Zoro did all the way back in the Don Krieg arc, the Bratier arc, that Sanji is going to never leave the crew again. He's going to proclaim his loyalty. He's going to say, I need to get to the All Blue with you. Now this is the part where everyone gets excited and their panties get wet. And it's about Zoro leaving the crew. But I don't think Zoro's going to leave the crew. And I'm going to explain the two reasons why people think Zoro's going to leave the crew, or the two main ideas. And the first one is if he becomes, or if he has possession of the Nidai Kitetsu, the cursed blade above the, or it's not the Sandai, is it? Oh fuck. Somebody talk to me about One Piece swords. If he's in possession of the Nidai Kitetsu, and the curse of the cursed sword affects him in a way to where he becomes malevolent towards the Straw Hats, and this is a part where Zoro leaves the crew for a little bit, has a character arc, right? And then rejoins the crew. It wouldn't be an official leave the crew. Or the second way that I see Zoro leaving is if Luffy himself, right, accepts Sanji back without an apology or without a declaration of his loyalty to Luffy. These are the two main ways that I see Zoro leaving the crew. And if Zoro is in possession of the Nidai Kitetsu and it is affecting him, I think by the time he leaves the crew and then comes back to the crew, he's going to meet a swordsmith. And I don't mean a swordsman, I mean a maker of swords. Because it would be a lot more interesting to see Zoro get rid of the Nidai Kitetsu and not have two cursed blades. Because I don't know which one he would give up, whether it be like the third ranking one or the Nidai. I think it's the Sandai, right? It's the Sandai Kitetsu that he has right now. And the swordsmith then makes a sword for Zoro that is more dedicated towards his dreams and what he wants to do as a swordsman, become the world's greatest swordsman. The swordsmith of Wano, whether it just be like a super legendary one or a normal dude, makes a sword for Zoro till the end of the series. Or if Luffy accepts Sanji back with no apology, I see Zoro leaving for the same reason underneath the cursed Kitetsu blade. I think this would have a little bit more of an implication, and this is what would lead to another internal conflict between Zoro and Luffy now, for the way that Luffy allows his crew members in dire circumstances to leave the crew to better the crew or help the crew. And I think Sanji is really going to be the last that we see of this. So I don't think Zoro is really going to leave the crew. I think Zoro is the most loyal out of all of the Straw Hats, and I think Zoro has the most respect for Luffy when it comes as a captain. So I don't see Zoro leaving the crew for the rest of the series. Like, I think Zoro is the number one person in the crew who's going to stay. I think they're all going to stay after this, but I don't see Zoro leaving for something like this without returning. Because if we want to get later on in the story and get into Raftel, Zoro has to be there. Zoro also has to be at the final war arc. So if any of this is going to happen, Zoro only leaves the crew for maybe 20 chapters. Like 20 to 50 chapters, right? I don't think there's going to be an actual abandonment from Zoro in the crew. Now, as for major internal conflicts with the crew, this should be the last one, because Oda should write it to where Sanji apologizes and Sanji declares his loyalty for Luffy, and Zoro doesn't leave the crew. If there happens to be another internal Straw Hat conflict, the last one, like the very last one that I see happening, is this Zoro versus Luffy conflict that will arise or potentially arise from the Zoro versus Sanji conflict. Now, I don't think that there's going to be a Luffy and Zoro conflict to where Zoro addresses Luffy that he's leaving the crew. Zoro is not that type of man, like I said. So I think with this, everything that's going to propel the Straw Hats forward now from a mental fortitude standpoint is they're going to be even more tight-knit than they ever have been before. And I think this is what's going to be the biggest internal Straw Hat conflict of the series that's going to progress them to being the Pirate King's crew. I think for the rest of the series, the only other conflicts that are going to kind of be in their way that they have to overcome will be enemy conflicts. So like if they go and face Big Mom again, it's going to be a conflict between Luffy's morality and Big Mom's morality in regards to becoming the Pirate King. And then beyond that, I think the only other conflict that Luffy's going to have personally will be with Blackbeard. So that about wraps up this video. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. This video might be a little buggy. I don't understand what's going on with my camera recorder right now. But if you have any ideas that can expand upon the Zoro and Sanji conflict over the Zoro leaving the crew conflict, comment down below. Let me know. Like the video if you like the video. Dislike the video on someone else's channel. Don't dislike my video. I will find you and I will put my mitts on you. That sounds a little aggressive, but subscribe if you already haven't. We're up to 12 followers now, or should I do it like this? I can't tell which way is which for the recordings, but we're up to 12 followers now. Thank you, everybody. I know I've been getting hella active on Twitter and Instagram, but I really do appreciate everything that you guys are doing for sticking with me. So I'll see you later.